Hello, INFJ fellow nation. This is David Trigg coming to you here from my car, from my caro. Means that I means introvert, N means intuitive, T means thinking, and J means judging, which doesn't mean that I judge people. It's just a word to determine how I process information. And so you might know about the Myers-Briggs, or the MBTI as they call it. You may be familiar with that. If you're not, you can join 90 million people at 16personalities.com, the number 16personalities.com, and take the test. It's free. And you can get a sense of what your personality type is. And you may not be into personality types in psychology. You might be into it. As an INFJ, I can tell you that it's a huge thing, especially when we're trying to figure out ourselves. So I won't go in depth into what an INFJ is, nor will I go in depth into what's called the dominant types, or the types of an INFJ. But if you know about types, I am an NIFETISE. Big N, little I, big F, little E, big T, little I, big S, little E. And so those are all the different types, and that is really, to me, where I have found the most connection with being an INFJ. So I want to stick to the topic here of downtime. As an INFJ, they say that we are the most extroverted of the introverts. We're the rarest type. We're, I think, 1% of the population. And I think that's the same for men and women. I'm going through a tunnel in case we lose a little bit of the connection here. But being an INFJ, one of the big characteristics is that because we are feelers and our feelings are outward, meaning that we are the most extroverted of the introverts, it means that our downtime is very important. And without it, in fact, we can't be our magical selves. Being an INFJ, I would say, is the greatest gift, and also can be the biggest problem. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. But if you don't understand your need for downtime, or you ignore that, then you will definitely struggle. And now I have a bad connection, so hopefully you guys can still see me. You will definitely struggle with relationships, with yourself, with all your responsibilities in the world. And so just let me say that if you are an INFJ, really this is true for all introverts, you must guard and protect your downtime. Because your downtime, certainly for the INFJ, is where and when you make those connections, those NI connections, that NI, which is that dominant trait that we have. It's our gift, it's our secret sauce. So for example, just the other day I had one of my staff members say, "Oh, you've been invisible lately." And I got thinking about how true that was, and that is. But then I began to explain to her kind of why that is and what I was doing. And so as I hung up the phone and I got thinking about it, first it makes me think I always need to explain to people what, as some call it, what the invisible cloak is all about, why we go invisible. And then second, I just basically just was healing myself, thanking God and myself, or my personality, for taking that time, because that is where the connections are made. Right now, we're in the middle at my work of budget season and just planning things for next year. A lot of strategic thinking, prayer, a lot of making sense of a lot of things, as any organization, any church, I'm a pastor, any organization has to think things through. And so I have realized that my best gift to my organization, to the world, is my mind. And being that INFJs are always in their heads, that's really the best thing I can do, is to think and process. And because we have that FE as our second type, which means that we extrovert our feelings, meaning that we communicate, and we, in my case, we lead from our thoughts. It's not just something that we keep inside or just write about. We actually extrovert our feelings. Those strategies, they become the vision and the motivation for people. Because that is true, and that is a joy of mine and my responsibility, I guard that alone time or that downtime, both as a way to recover from overworking or overdoing things, which is another problem for INFJs, but also as a way to connect and to meditate, as it's called, or if you want to think more linear, more scientific, or more business, to strategize, to make decisions before you go out there and open your big mouth. I was reading a book by, I think it was Warren Buffett, and he was saying that people were asking him, how did you become so successful? And he was saying that success, people think that it's 80% hustle. But he was saying that hustle it's only 20% of the formula. That success is, I think he said 40% thinking, maybe even as high as 80%. I think he had three things, so it wasn't 80%, but he said something like 40% thinking, 20% hard work, and I think maybe the other 40% was, I forget what it was, maybe empathy or something like that. But my point is that even though people think, especially I think extroverts or linear thinkers, that hard work is everything and the only thing, in reality, and this is an INFJ talking, contemplation and wisdom is gathered in the moment, in the mind, in listening, as spiritual people, as we would call it, listening to God, listening to the Spirit of God. But it's a combination of a lot of things. Life, connections. It's just that NI just firing on all cylinders. It's just doing its magic. And then when we come out and we FE out, meaning that we extrovert our feelings or what we've come up with, we then communicate that. It's magic. I mean, and it's happened to me millions of times. That when I sit and simmer and in a good way, I don't mean like stew over things, but I mean when I sit with a thought and I let it filter down, and I pray and I talk about it with my wife and I write about it and I truly think about it, then those aha moments come. It's like magic. And then when I communicate it, it's magic. And even if there is another opinion or even resistance or maybe I'm wrong, you know that you've thought it through. And that is a very powerful feeling. And it's being true to who you are. There's an integrity about it. So if you find yourself needing that downtime as an INFJ or just simply as an introvert, maybe ask yourself a couple of things. First, am I doing this to communicate, to think on something? Am I doing this to heal? Am I doing this for another reason? In other words, first come up with your reason or think through your why, as they say. And then second, I would say, learn to communicate those things to the people around you, if you're married, to your husband or wife, to your children, to your team, to your in my case to your staff or church or whatever, whoever may need to know kind of what you're doing or where you've been or what's going on. And I would say third is to honor yourself, honor your process, to validate what you're doing, self-validate. Don't expect others to validate your process. You have to self-validate what you're doing and how you do it. Because if you're like me, we all want to make a change and a difference in the world. And so you have to validate how you get there. So I hope that helps. I really have been thinking a lot. I haven't been on here for, I think, 2-3 weeks, but I wanted to come back. Thank you for those of you that have subscribed lately the last couple of weeks. We've had a few new subscribers, so thank you for that. If you haven't subscribed, make sure that you do click on the link below, press that red button, make sure that you press the bell, and leave me a comment below if kind of this makes sense to you, and if you maybe have an INFJ community. I probably will talk about INFJ some, I don't know about exclusively, but at least when I'm processing something and then realizing our type helps to clarify things. And therefore this video, that's what this has done for me. So thank you guys. Please leave me a comment, say hello. I hope that the audio and video wasn't too bad.